Hi, my name is Max Shepard, and this is my oral presentation on writing in the field, specifically software development. So my field of study is software development at Durham Tech. I chose software development because I like working with computers. Started working with computers at a very early age, and I've always enjoyed using computers, building computers, etc. Um, Also, there happens to be a really good job market, especially in this area and in general when it comes to software development. Another aspect is that software development has a lot to do with problem solving. I mean, that's the main aspect of creating software is solving a problem for someone in order to create a useful application or um, software in general. So some of the things that I've found through my studies about software development in relation to writing is that it's really important to be clear and concise when it comes to writing an outline for a program or documenting code so that people can clearly understand what you're going for or what you're trying to do. And also, so if you develop a piece of software and you want to have someone collaborate with you, they can easily pick up where you've left off if you've explained everything well. It's also really important to be able to communicate with your peers and others that you're working with. Um, any job, communication is important. You'll have to always do uh, write emails, write documents, presentations, all kinds of stuff like that. Communication is very important when it comes to software development. So during this process, I interviewed Eric Richardson, who is the senior software developer at Willow Tree Incorporated, which is a company um, out of downtown Durham that does a lot of mobile app development. And he told me a few different things that I need to be aware of when it comes to writing in the field. Um, Mainly, the emphasis here was on documentation. Documentation is very important when it comes to software. He explained that you have to write out like features that will be implemented in your software, different specifications for certain things. You have to be able to document what you're trying to do so that when other people read it, they can clearly understand what you're going for without any wiggle room. He said that in the field, the kind of stuff that he reads a lot of sample projects, which are included in different sets of software tools that kind of explain how to use the software and give you examples of how to use it. A lot of the stuff he said is very straightforward and very dry. And sometimes certain people will try to make it interesting, but the main goal is it's very important to be dry so you can clearly get your point across without any room for error. So to wrap that up, he says that your writing should be clear and concise, as dry as possible. Do not allow for any misunderstandings, and write like a soulless robot, which was one of the more important things that he said. Eric was telling me that it's really hard to write like a soulless robot. So that's one of the things that is really difficult when it comes to documenting code and things of that nature. Because, I mean, you have to kind of leave the humanity out of it, so there's no room for misunderstanding. So through my research, I looked at a couple articles. One was called The Importance of Writing Skills in Tech-Related Fields by Teresa McPhail. This article basically explained that writing skills are very important in tech careers, and not a lot of people think about this when they're going to school, but it's really important to develop good communication skills. the reason why you need these skills, because you're always going to be collaborating with other people, other programmers, management, etc. You have to be able to understand and make sure your peers understand you, so that you guys can, collaborate and create viable software without any mistakes. Let's see. So another thing that I saw in this article, which seems to be a reoccurring theme, is the importance of clear documentation. One thing that allows for is letting people jump in on a project really quickly without having to necessarily sit down with someone and have them in depth explain what's going on. They can just look in the code and kind of already see what's going on, have a certain grasp of the rules and an understanding of what a certain module or function within the code is trying to do. And also it helps the programmers that write the documentation and the code to remember why they did certain things. Like when they go back to it years or months or days even later, they understand why they did what they did because they have it documented. Another thing that it talks about is top-down design. Not specifically top-down design, but kind of indirectly. And this concept is that if you break something down into smaller pieces and clearly explain what each piece is trying to do, it's almost like outlining a paper. It helps you more effectively write the programs or do whatever it is you need to do in the tech field. It's a good skill to have, which relates very clearly to writing, in the sense that if you write a good outline for a paper, then it's going to be much easier to write the paper. Another good thing that this article kind of mentioned is that even if you have a great idea, it's really only going to be useful if you're able to communicate and express it well to others. The next article I looked at was Teaching the Importance of Communication in IT by Jay Leibowitz. This article kind of emphasized that employers want strong communication skills, written and verbal. I mean, in all fields, but really especially in IT. You're going to need to ask and respond to questions quickly and concisely. You're going to need to respond to emails. You're going to need to be able to sound professional and understand what's going on and have those analyzation skills to reply to people quickly and really clearly communicate what you're doing and what you're working on. Another thing that's important is going to be explaining different things, especially in the IT field, to outsiders that don't necessarily know what's going on, but being able to communicate clearly so you can give them a basic understanding of what you're doing and just kind of help them along with the process. Another thing that this article mentioned is documentation, which it seems like everywhere, everyone I've talked to, everywhere I've read, there's a real importance here in clear and concise and clean documentation when it comes to software. So to wrap it all up, writing is very important when it comes to programming, software development, and any IT-related field. You're always going to have to document your projects so that people that come after you or that work with you can understand what you're trying to do and can understand the goal of the certain software and how to use it. You're always going to have to communicate with the people you're working with. I mean, mostly in any IT field, especially software, you're going to be working with many other people, and it's very important that you have the communication skills to explain what you're trying to do, explain your ideas, and just clearly communicate. It's important in all jobs. And last but not least, when it comes to software, it's really important to be clear and concise, because you don't want any room for misunderstanding. You want things to be very efficiently communicated without any wiggle room, because if you do allow for wiggle room, there's going to be mistakes in the code, there's going to be mistakes in your projects. You have to be very clear and concise. Here's my references page. Thanks for watching.